Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another episode of CLR, Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm a board-certified criminal defense lawyer where I react to news of the day, some hardcore drill, react to self-snitching, that kind of thing. And today we are reacting to Travis Scott. He was interviewed by Charlamagne. Now, we recently did a review of reaction to Alec Baldwin. And you know what I think of that. His self-snitching ways. Just so stupid. I mean, and this is another incident where you've got a high-profile celebrity facing some very serious civil, if not criminal consequences. And he's interviewed to try to get a hold of the narrative. And it's just so dumb. It is so dumb. And I haven't seen this yet. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to watch the episode for the very first time, and I'm going to react to it. Doesn't mean that you have to sit through this whole thing with me. We're going to chop it up, and you'll see my reactions to certain parts that are, that I find remarkable or worthy of commentary. So let's just get right into it.
Travis Scott, what's up, brother?
What it do?
How you feeling?
Now, you got two different perspectives here. If I'm Charlamagne, I want this interview because it's Travis Scott, it's high profile, and his listeners want to know what's going on. Travis Scott, on the other hand, has got major litigation, major criminal things that could probably happen, including manslaughter charges. Absolutely, if I'm his lawyer, do not do any interviews.
I've been on about different type of emotions, emotional roller coaster.
Now he says immediately he goes to himself, and my guess is that we're going to see that a lot throughout the interview. How this has affected me. If I'm telling him what to say, you tell him I'm doing fine. My concern is for everybody else.
It gets so hard because I always felt connected with my fans.
Mm-hmm.
And, I went through something, and I feel like fans went through something and people's parents went through something. And it's, it really, it hurts. It hurts the community. It hurts the city. And it's just been a lot of thoughts, a lot of feelings, a lot of grieving. And just, trying to wrap my head around it,
Mm-hmm.
I really wanted to be there. And just, wish you could just kind of hold everyone, kind of just heal them, talk to them, have conversations.
So he's having some compassion for other people. That's just fine. And one of the things he did early on that was really good was he, I think, funded a lot of the funerals and medical expenses. And so from that standpoint, he's taken some responsibility and some damage control.
It really just hurts, man.
Well, what's your intention with this conversation? Like what do you hope to get out of this, or what do you hope to get out?
What is your intention with this conversation? That is an excellent question to ask, because what do you hope to get out of this? I mean, nothing good can come out of an interview like this. Nothing. All that can happen is more scrutiny on him. He doesn't need more scrutiny.
Personally, have an intention. I just feel like something happened, and I feel like it's just I needed just a way to kind of communicate,
Mm-hmm.
One, the families are grieving, it's fans that experienced something, it's fans that came to a show, and I feel like I just have I've always been that person to always see things through.
Mm-hmm.
With the people that shared experiences with me. And, it just, things happen, and, I just kind of, it's been such a time, and I've just been...
When he goes like this and basically say things happen, how tone deaf is that? Shit happens. No, shit doesn't happen. When you are somebody arranging a big concert like this, safety rests with you. You have a duty to protect the people that are coming to your show.
Trying to just really figure things out, you know.
I know you. I'm sure you experiencing remorse, but was there any hesitation to have this conversation because of the litigation you may be facing?
Well,
is there any hesitation to have this conversation because of the litigation you may be facing? How point on is that question? That is perfect. That is an absolute great question. And if I had a big hook and I'm his lawyer, I'd hook him right off that fucking set and say, I'm sorry, we're not doing this interview. You just don't do it.
I mean, yeah, of course you got people that's just like, what? Like, you know, but it's not about that. You know, it's, you know, you're an artist, you whoever people think you are, but at the end of the day, you're a human being, you know. You have emotions. You want to communicate them emotions, you know.
And he's focused on himself. I mean, he's, and I don't really know Travis Scott, okay, at all. I mean, I don't know him, but having him talk about himself is tone deaf.
Find the best way to communicate. You know, how you just feeling, you know.
How have you been coping with the aftermath of everything? Just emotionally, just you as a human.
I've been just in a room for a while, you know, a lot of thoughts, and luckily, you know, you have people around that you kind of bounce ideas, but it just been, you know, I've been doing this for such a long time, and, you know, nothing like this ever happened, you know, so it just kind of like, you just kind of figuring out, and at the end of the day, like, these fans are your family, so you just feel like you lost something, and you just, you do these shows, honestly, to, you know, for people to have the best experience, you know, and just to think that something like this happened, you're just trying to figure out, you know.
Here's the thing. He's sort of playing the aw shucks routine. In other words, well, you know, these things just happen, and, you know, you plan the best, but all of a sudden, bullshit. You just didn't do what you were supposed to do at the beginning. One of the things that you have in any kind of civil case is, you know, if I'm suing you for negligence, the only way I get negligence damages from you is if you had a duty to me, okay? You have duty, breach of duty, and then damages. Well, there's clearly tons of damages in this case, tons of damages. In other words, that damages are things that happen to you that the only remedy for it is money. That's what we sue for. But you have a duty to your audience when you have a show. You have a duty to provide security, a duty to provide a safe environment. And clearly that was breached.
You know, just wrap everything around. And so even just for the first couple weeks, you know, it was just me sitting down, but I had to really channel these emotions to just remember, like, you know, if no one's gonna be a voice for these people, I gotta like kind of step up and kind of like be a voice to just figure out that, you know, this doesn't happen in the future, it just shows, period. You know what I'm saying? Or figure out the bottom solution of what's going on and just try to ensure people, you know, safety and what they're doing, you know.
You said you was in the room, but then people saw you at the golf course.
Yeah,
with Michael Jordan and Mark Wahlberg. What was that?
It was.
I do like how Charlamagne gets right to the point, and he asks some very good questions. You know, when you have something major like this happen, and then you go to a charity event, you know, and now you're seen with Mark Wahlberg and Michael Jordan, is that a good look?
It's given. You know, they were there. You know, it's just good people to have around in the community. And, you know, that was just more like a personal time, just trying to get around. I think like some fan came and asked for a photo. But yeah.
Now, let's talk about that night, man. When did you find out things got as bad as they did? Now, that's the question everybody wants to know.
Yeah, it was.
When did you find out when things got as bad as they did? Okay, this is the critical question. Critical question. I mean, Charlamagne is right on point with his questions. And this is a question that's going to be asked in a deposition, for sure.
Really until like minutes until like the press conference until I figured out exactly what happened. You know, even after the show, you know, you just kind of hearing things, but you don't know. I didn't know the exact details until, you know, minutes before the press conference. And even at that moment, you kind of just like, wait, you know, what?
So he's saying he didn't know anything really until the press coverage. How is that possible? How is that even remotely believable? Honestly, if I'm taking his deposition, I'm talking to everybody around him to find out who knew what. I'm getting everybody's text messages. I'm getting everybody's social media. And you're going to find out that that just simply isn't believable.
You know, you just went through something and it's just like, wait, what? You know.
So you didn't know people that actually passed away and stuff?
Nah.
Wow.
Until minutes before, you know, which is, yeah. You know, and the thing is, like, you know, people pass out, you know, people, you know, things happen at concerts, but something like that, it's just like.
Yeah, people said they collectively heard folks screaming help every time you stopped the song to get your attention. Did you hear any of those screams?
Nah, man. And you know, it's so crazy because I'm that artist too. Like, you know, anytime you can hear something like that, you want to stop the show. You want to make sure, you know, fans get the proper attention they need, you know. And anytime I could see anything like that, I did, you know. You know, I stopped like a couple times to just make sure everybody was okay. And I just really just go off the, you know, the fans' energy as a collective, you know, call and response. And I just didn't hear that. You know, I got music, I got my in-ears, but I just didn't hear that, you know.
The problem is that, you know, a lot of it does hinge on what he knew, but some of it doesn't hinge on what he knew at all. I mean, stopping the concert is one thing. Creating the environment for it to happen is quite another.
Break that down a little more. Like, nobody knows what it's like being on stage except for other artists. So speak to us from that perspective of what you can see and hear. It was like, what, 50,000 people?
Yeah, I mean, you got like a...
So that really is another good question. So from this perspective of the guy standing on stage, you know, what can you hear, what can you see? And I would suspect it'd be a little difficult, you know, to differentiate between enthusiastic crowd noise and somebody crying out for help. So from that perspective, that's a plausible defense from him personally.
A venue, you know, filled with like 50,000 people. But it's like a sea. You got lights, you got sound, you got pyro, you got your in-ears, you got your sound, got your mic, you know, got the music, you got bands, all type of, you know, stuff going on.
So it's hard to tell excitement from danger, so to speak?
Yeah, of course. Everything kind of just sounds the same. And at the end of the day, you just hear music, you know? And when you do, you just hear amongst of things, you know? But when you're in the show, you just enter the show, and anytime you can feel anything close to you, you know, you try to, like, definitely get to that.
So as an artist, how much can you actually, I guess, help in that position?
You can only help what you can see, you know what I mean?
Now, I'm not sure. I mean, he's not just an artist. He's putting on the show. He's the producer of the show. And there was other sponsors there as well, but he is the producer of the show. So he's not just somebody showing up, giving it. And this is like, I think the third or fourth year he's had this show. And he is not just an artist. I just show up, I play. That isn't it.
And then, you know, whatever you told, you know what I'm saying? Whenever somebody tell you to stop, you just stop. But just wasn't it.
It wasn't that night, huh? You know, raging has been a part of the culture, you know, of your shows. You know, you didn't on this night, but in the past, you've encouraged, I guess, the kind of energy that could have led to something like this happening. Do you think that contributed to the energy of this night?
Yeah, nah, I think, you know, it's something I've been working on, you know, for a while, of just creating these experiences and trying to show, like...
So, past experiences tend to foretell future experiences, right? And so he's had a couple run-ins with the law with encouraging rioting and encouraging situations that create the danger that happened in this particular case. I don't think he did that in this case, but knowing what has happened in the past, that's going to haunt him a little bit on this, because that should heighten his awareness about what his duty is going forward.
Experiences happening in a safe environment. You know, us as artists, we trust, you know, professionals to make sure that, you know, things happen and people leave, you know, safely. You know what I'm saying? And this night was just like a regular show. You know, it felt like to me. As far as like, you know, the energy, it didn't feel like it was like, you know, people didn't show up there to just be harmful. People just, I think, showed up to have a good time. And then,
you know, he's saying it was just another show, but right from the outset, people stormed the gates and they knocked it down and, you know, were attending without even paying for tickets.
Something unfortunate happened. And I think we really just got to figure out, you know, what that was, you know?
Does raging make it harder to identify when something is going wrong in the crowd?
Well, I think, you know, raging is just you know, they have a textbook, you know, definition, but, you know, in concerts, we've grown it to be just an experience of having fun. It's not about just, harm. It's not about that. It's about just letting go and having fun, you know, help others, you know, love each other. It's not about just, you know, harm. That's not what it's all about. The show isn't just rambunctious for an hour. You know, that's not what it is.
Oh, trust me, I grew up on crunk. So, you know, I understand. You know, you don't want it to get too out of hand.
Yeah, but you know, the energy is high, you know, and you know, that's why you want to just make sure that, you know, people are surrounded, to make sure that people are just having the best experience. You know what I'm saying? You know, I can't say the energy is high, but you know.
So you have an awareness that you're getting through this interview. The energy is high, and you want to do what you can to make the experience the best experience for everybody. So that's a real awareness of what his duty is.
You make sure that people are there for people to have like the best experience and leave.
Yeah, you want people to have a good time. You don't want people to get hurt
at all.
Yeah. And you know, God forbid, pass away. And you know, it's typical for you to stop a show to make sure fans in the crowd get the help, you know, they need. There's even footage of that night of you doing that during the set. Were you unable to sense like a difference in urgency this time around?
I mean, yeah, because you know, you stop the show, but you know, if something's gonna happen, if it's something detrimental, somebody's gonna let you know, or you know, the show just stopped. And you know, that just wasn't the case. You know, I just kind of stopped the show. You know, you just ask, you have a call and response with the fans. You try to, you know, generally get a response, but you know, if you don't get like a hard
stop.
You stop, you know.
So the fact that nobody's communicating to him that there's an issue, that really talks about the duty that they breached. Because if you don't have communication with the artist to be able to kind of quell a situation like this down, then you've got a flaw in your system, which would be easy to show negligence.
You just go off of what's going on, you know, which makes it so like so crazy, because like, you know, if I feel like, you know, anyone would have known, it would have just been like, it wouldn't have got that far, you know.
Well, what headspace were you in when you posted that initial response video?
I mean, it was, I think it had to have been the night of, you know. So I was just in a headspace of just trying to get a communication out to my fans, you know. I had little to no information, you know, so I was just trying to figure it out and just communicate to them, you know. Yeah, I was just reacting just literally just to get something to the fans, you know. It's people that showed up.
Do you regret that initial video? Do you regret reacting in that way, or not having all the information before you said something?
I mean, yeah, because, you know, you just don't know what's going on, but at the end of the day, I don't, you know, I just wanted to get something out, you know, how my message came out, I can't, you know, I can only go off what I know, but my true intentions of it, you know, was really just trying to get a message across, and, you know, really wanted to just touch to the fans, touch to the families, you know, that we here, we grieving, and we'll get through this, you know, through this process.
So what did you know in that first video?
I mean, at that time, I think we just knew that, you know, people passed, you know. We didn't know how, you know, that it was, you know, the news, you know, I think police came out and said something, you know, you're just going off of what you're seeing in the news, you know, you don't really know nothing. And then as the days go on, you start collecting a little bit more information.
They said there was like chaos and trampling being reported since the early afternoon, like hours before the show even started. Were you informed of any of that ahead of time?
Well, no, like, you know, the police, he came and, to my trailer, and he, you know, he congratulated me on, you know, the event and, you know, having something like this in Houston. He let me know that it was, you know, mishap at the merch booth earlier. You know, they shut it down, but they opened it back up. They seemed to got it under control. You know, he was gonna step out and just let us know if we need anything, you know, have a good show. That was it.
You know, a lot of the criticism, you know, from the tragedy, they say, is in the poor planning and understaffing of the event. As an artist, do you have any involvement in any of that?
Well, I mean, we just do, as an artist, you just do the creative. And for this being my festival, you know, I got, you know, bring artists, you know, creatively produce it. And, you know, we just trust in the, you know, the professionals to kind of just make sure that, you know, people, you know, are taken care of.
So you hear a recurring theme. We just trust the professionals. If he's the producer of the show, he has a duty to his audience, period. And you may have relied on some professionals, but if you relied on the wrong people, you're going to be held liable.
And, you know, leaving safely. You know, I just can control what I can on the stage, and then, you know, you have the professionals control what they can in the crowd, you know. It's just hard, because as an artist, you know, you want to have, like, the best shows, and you want to have the best experiences, and you know, you link with professionals to handle that side of it, you know, and then, you know, you want to know what's going on. I think that's what we got to figure out, you know. And
see, I mean, when you watch this, first of all, his affect is kind of low, and you got to wonder, what is he trying to get out of this? How is this going to move the ball down the field? How is this going to help him? And so far, I don't see anything that helps him.
Figure out what happened there, how it happened, you know.
You spoke on the Houston police chief. His name is Troy Finner. He came to you, and he said he voiced concerns over the crowd energy. So what did you and your team do with that information once you get?
So the police chief voiced concerns about the crowd energy. That's another nugget for the plaintiff's lawyers, because that puts them on notice. I mean, he should have notice already from his prior shows, but this is a question I would not want him to answer, in this setting, because it's going to get asked.
I think that's what the media. I think that's what the media said, but I think it read to more so that he wanted us to. He knew that our crowd was, the type of crowd that comes. It comes at a heavy crowd. So to communicate with him if we were doing anything outside of the week's itinerary, that week we were doing a lot of charity stuff prior to the festival. So there's security at most of the events, but he was just letting us. I guess in that statement he was just saying if we do anything outside of what we had on our itinerary, let him know. But we didn't even get to that point.
It's crazy. Just being here kicking it with you for a little bit. I can see that. This is weighing real heavy on you.
Yeah.
So how much do you feel a sense of responsibility for what happened that night?
Well, fans come to the show and have a good experience, and I have a responsibility to figure out what happened here. I have a responsibility to figure out the solution. And I gotta, and hopefully this takes a first step into, us as artists, having that more insight of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? And the professionals to kind of, surround and figure out more of an intel, whether it's tech, whether it's, you know, more of a response, whether it's whatever the problem is, you know.
So he says, I have a duty, I have a responsibility. And so he's admitting, which, you know, it's true, and I don't think it's going to be an issue. But his awareness that he's got the responsibility to his fans. And then now he's talking about, well, we have to figure out what happened and how to fix it in the future. But in the meantime, you've got, you know, I don't know, over 100 plaintiffs, well over 100 plaintiffs, and following a multi-million-dollar lawsuit. I think it's like $700 million or something like that, going after Apple, going after Travis Scott and his whole team.
Figure out that in the future, moving forward in concert safety, make sure it just never happen again.
Now here's the deal. This would be a civil case for the plaintiffs, which in a civil arena, you have a duty. In a civil case, they only have to prove their case by a preponderance of the evidence. Just slightly more true than not true. 50.00001%. It's a very low standard. It's not like a criminal case where it's beyond a reasonable doubt. I think a criminal case in this context is going to be very difficult to charge him with anything, because he does have the plausible deniability. I'm on stage. I'm, I can't tell the difference between a cry for help and a cry for more music. You know, so from that standpoint, he's probably going to be okay.
No.
But let's talk about those professionals. Like, how much responsibility do you think, like, Live Nation and Score More, the promoters, have in all of this?
I mean, you know, they do their job of, you know, setting these things up. So, I mean, I think, you know, they when we dial into what, you know, specifically happened here, I feel like, you know, even they can kind of help, you know, figure out what happened in a sense. You know, but at the end of the day, I think collectively, everyone needs to just figure out the bottom line solution. But, you know, especially in concert safety, you know, definitely got to have, you know, make sure that, you know, these things are, you know, done right.
You think these festivals are too big, man? 50,000 people is a lot of people for anybody to control.
Yeah, there are festivals that are bigger, you know, way bigger. And, you know, I just think it's not about the maximum of it. I think it's about the attention to what's going on and how it's going on. And as long as that's handled, I feel like, you know, things can be, you know, can go okay, will be okay, you know. But if you look at it through the history of festivals, you know, this isn't the first time happening. There's been a long history of this, you know. So I feel like if you look at the overall, you know, view of that, and you kind of like dial in, okay, what could we do better to fix this overall for general concert safety? I think we figure out the problem, you know, and make it better for people to have better live experiences.
Live Nation reportedly agreed to end the concert early after the Houston PD and the fire department declared it a mass casualty event, but the concert continued for another 40 minutes. Was there ever any communication to you on stage that you should end this?
Well, yeah, I mean, they just told me right after, you know, the guests get off stage, you know, we're going to end the show. You know, and that's what we did. You know, other than that, there was no other communication. You know?
Oh, so you mean after the guests? What you mean?
Yeah, after the guest comes out,
okay,
we're going to end the show. But it wasn't communication on why, you know.
So here's another nugget. Another, you know, did you get communication about ending the show? Well, yes, I did. I mean, here's the thing. Charlamagne is doing an excellent job for the plaintiff's lawyers in this case. All you got to do is play this, and you're halfway home.
It was just, you know, that's what came through my ears. You know?
Oh, so they didn't say stop now?
No.
Oh, gotcha.
No.
Wow. Do you feel like people are forcing more responsibility on you because you are the front man, because it was Astro World?
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, I'm the face of the festival. You know, I'm an artist. You know, so yeah, you know, the media is, you know, they want to, you know, put it on me. But at the end of the day, it's like, I don't think it's more so about that. I think it's more so about, stepping up to figure out what the problem is. And I could take that. I could take, stepping up to figure out what the problem is. I could take stepping into figuring out the solution that never happened again. Because that's what I generally want to do in general, even just for my community, The whole idea for why I brought this festival to the city was to, show that Houston is something different. And show that there's all different types of lives, all different type of energy, and just bring that morale to the city, and just bring that energy to the city. So I definitely want to, step in to figure out, how can we fix this in the future? What can we do to, change these things,
Do you feel like you did everything you possibly could to help in that situation?
Yes. Yes, anything I physically can, for sure, yeah.
So do you feel like you did everything you possibly could do to help in that situation? A plaintiff's lawyer is going to take that question and then follow up with, did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do this? And you're going to get all these no, no's, because they're going to ask questions that they already know the answers to. And it makes no sense for these guys to do these interviews.
If knowing, what was going on, you would just wish, how, if you, could have done something better, or, but standing there, 1,000%.
We know that the families of the people who passed are definitely watching this right now. And there's nothing you could say to heal the trauma these families who lost loved ones are going through. But being that they're watching, what would you say to them directly?
I'll say to them that I'm always here, and that I'm in this with you guys, and I love you, and I'll always be there to help you guys heal through this. And I understand that they're going through, they're grieving right now, and they're finding understanding right now, and it's not just like a right now thing; it's a for everything. And these people that came to the show, they are my family. And I've always had that connection to the people I feel like that listen to the music or came to my shows. And that's why I really, it's really hard on me even just, to even like, man, even.
It's really hard on me. It's really hard on me. It's like these things tend to be tone deaf. Who gives a flying fuck if it's hard on you? How about the people that died or that were seriously injured? I mean, how about them? It was really hard on them, and it always circles back to it's hard on him. That's why nothing good can come of these interviews, because all it's going to do is draw more scrutiny on him and give plaintiffs fodder for cross-examination and for their case. And he doesn't have enough insurance.
Because they ended up they lost their loved ones, So it's tough. And I just want to always just be there for them, and just always just be able to just know that I'm going to fix this for the future people, and fix this solution, and fix this problem. And find a solution to make sure that this doesn't happen in the future, and definitely be a number one voice for this,
This really is not that new of a problem. I mean, it's rare that it happens, but it does happen from time to time that somebody gets trampled on or loses their life at a concert.
Because that,
But not like this. Not like this. I mean, the number of people that were injured is astronomical. Shouldn't have really said that. I guess that's Astro World, right?
I feel like that's like one of the what we got to figure out. Because other than that, it's like, the show goes on tomorrow, or something goes. How does this get fixed?
This could happen again. It's happened before.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're a father. You know, God forbid when your kids are of age, if they're in a situation like this, you know, I want you to put yourself in those parents' shoes right now. What would you want to see come of this situation if you?
I want to see people put their heads together. I want to see people really figure this out, not take this lightly, you know, and really act on it. And that's, you know, that's one of the main things that's important. I feel like they gotta just act on it. It can't just be like something that happens and it just roll over.
Mm-hmm.
It gotta be something that's taken serious and addressed seriously, and things formed around it, time and a lot of time and a lot of, you know, thinking power spent on this, you know, and really fixing, you know, whatever system it is that needs to be fixed, you know.
From the lawsuits to the media coverage, do you feel like you're personally under attack?
I mean,
from the lawsuits to the media coverage, are you under attack? Of course he's under attack. His answer should be, it's not about me. This is about healing. That's what it should be. But let's see what he says.
I mean, yeah, you see a name in it and shit, and it's like, but, you know, at the end of the day, you step in these, you know, you step and you want to do a festival, and, you know, when you want to do things and you want to build up, you know, it comes with certain things, right? So I think it's all about how you respond to it, and I think it's all about how you react, right? So I could feel that way, but I think more so about, it's more about how I feel about the response that I care about more so, which is, you know, actually, you know, trying to step in and, you know, really step up to really fixing what's happening and really step up for the safety of concert goers, or people in just live spaces, period.
I wonder, is there a way to even prepare for this? Because nobody, like you said, when you're doing the planning for a show like this, nobody is planning for this to happen. So how do you even prepare for something like this to happen?
I don't know, and I feel like when it comes out a little bit more how this could have happened, I feel like that's how we can kind of attack that.
So that was our reaction to a conversation with Travis Scott by Charlamagne. And, you know, I thought Charlamagne asked some really, really excellent questions. And they're the same questions that are going to be asked during a deposition. And he's now on record with his answers. And a lot of it was kind of non-answers. A lot of it was whatever. But, I mean, he admitted in one respect that he's got responsibility. And then in the other thing, when he was ultimately asked who's responsible, he says basically it's somebody else's fault. It's the professionals that he relies upon. So you know there's going to be some finger pointing back and forth. It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. My guess is that this will get quietly resolved over time, and you're going to have these individual plaintiffs, and they filed I think well over 100 lawsuits. I think it's almost to 200 now. You're gonna see that that these are going to go by one, and there's some pretty deep pockets in here. So you got Apple, you got Travis Scott, and in the whole anybody that's in the chain of setting this whole thing up. So we'll see. So this has been another episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers. If you're watching this, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Patreon, follow us on Twitter, and we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. So here's the thing. When you have somebody like Aiden Ross, who's very well known, and you have Megan Thee Stallion, and he's saying that she's a liar, basically. He's saying she committed perjury on the stand. I don't think she should take that sitting down. He doesn't know the fucking facts. I mean, he really doesn't know the facts. He wasn't there. He probably hasn't read the trial transcript, or maybe he has, I don't know. But why be so reckless and why be so mean? I mean, she clearly was injured. It was proven in court. Tory Lanez was convicted. So he had his day in court. She testified. The judge didn't find that she was not credible. The jury didn't find that she wasn't credible. They believed what she had to say, and they convicted him of shooting her, and she had an injury. But clearly they believed, that something happened, that Tory Lanez was responsible.
Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. Bruce Rivers, he's the criminal lawyer. And what he do? And he's gonna react to all the self-snitching.
Hi, this is Bruce Rivers. Welcome to another fun-filled episode of Criminal Lawyer Reacts. I'm Bruce Rivers, your very own board-certified criminal defense lawyer, here to give you entertainment, just to take up the time while you drink your white wine and have your popcorn. Today we're reacting to Megan Thee Stallion. She suing Aiden Ross for $50 million. That's what happens when you run your mouth. We have a responsibility, when you're behind a microphone. And so we're going to dive into defamation and what it means and talk about celebrities and what they can expect, the public to say about them, or commentators. Megan Thee Stallion, she was in that shooting and all that stuff. Today's episode is sponsored by CyberGhost VPN. With over 38 million users worldwide, this is the most recommended VPN provider in the market. And it has an impressive, nearly perfect score on Trustpilot. Always trust a pilot, right? You know what a VPN, right, is an essential for protecting your digital privacy. Remember what I told you about having a digital footprint all over the place? And if you think you're already covered because you only browse in incognito mode, think again. Plenty of eyes are watching you every time you go online, and incognito mode only gives you a false sense of security. So your internet service provider, your schools or your work IT department, your own home Wi-Fi router, and even the websites you visit still know who you are, and they track your every move. Advertisers do this. Put a stop to this privacy invasion. What you need is CyberGhost VPN. Just turn on CyberGhost VPN before you browse, and it encrypts, reroutes 100% of your traffic through secure servers, so no one will ever see or even know that your online activity exists. It's all really simple, and CyberGhost has servers in over 100 countries worldwide, and they're there to cater to your every need. And by the way, changing your location with CyberGhost, you can also unblock libraries in over 40 streaming platforms like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and many more. Just amazing. This app is available for all operating systems and can protect up to 7 devices at the same time, keeping you anonymous around the clock. And that's a lot of devices, so you can always share your subscription with friends and family. So, you can cover everybody that you need to. What's more is CyberGhost VPN doesn't keep logs, so not even themselves know what you do online. So if you want to keep prying eyes at bay and be anonymous online and protect your digital footprint, now's the time to get CyberGhost. And by using the link in the description, you can benefit from 84% discount that you also get 4 months free. And since they have a 45-day money-back guarantee and access to 24/7 customer support, everything is risk-free. And I wouldn't tell you to do this if it wasn't risk-free. So use the link in the description, get CyberGhost VPN, and start protecting your digital life today. All right, we're going to do a little answer. We get some requests to answer some of these comments. We've got Legend of Conquest. He says, what kind of scotch does Bruce Rivers drink? Why don't you guess? I love scotch, by the way. The best way to drink scotch is if you have a fresh batch of chocolate chip cookies and you have a snit of scotch. Oh my God. You take a bite of the chocolate chip cookie, nice, hot, and warm. And I got that from the Scotch Connoisseur's homepage. Fills your head with chocolate chips. And oh my God, it's delicious. So what kind of scotch do I drink? Anything that is free. No, a Highland Park usually is what I drink. Single malt scotch is what I drink. And I only have 1, maybe 2. If I start to have 3 or 4, I'm not a pleasant person to be around. Bruce, can you do a cufflink close-up on your show? Maybe sometime, not now. How about, let's see, this is from Lee Curtis. Can you change the picture on the wall behind you? Something cool. Batman, maybe? Lee Curtis? Are you serious? change the picture behind me to Batman. You know, I had a case up in northern Minnesota, and I would fly in for the pre-trials and stuff, and I had a buddy might fly me out, and they always said that I was like Batman because I flew in, took care of business, and flew out. Here's another one. Bruce Rivers. This is from Sari Dixon. Bruce Rivers. Glenn Levitt or McAllen? Another Scotch question. Good. You know what? Glenn Levitt is great. McAllen is, I think, just a little bit better. This is from Caper here. Aren't all lawyers board certified? No. All lawyers have to be licensed by the state, you know, that they're in, and they maybe are the member of their bar association. But to be board certified is a distinction left to maybe 3% of the lawyers or something like that. You have to take an exam. You have to have four lawyers, 4 judges, and 4 prosecutors vouch for you. So you need 12 letters of recommendation. You've had to have so many trials. You have to basically demonstrate that you're an expert in the field. And you have to have so many cross-examination of an expert. And then they go behind your back and talk to judges that you didn't know that they were going to. So they can look up your cases online. And so, no, not all lawyers are board certified. Is that a 500 mag? No, it's not a 500. What are you talking about? I'm not going to self-snitch. Do you see a firearm? I don't see a firearm. All right, one last. Epi / Bruce, if a suspect client admits to you that he or she did commit the crime but pleads not guilty, can you as a lawyer still argue that they did not commit it? That's without physical evidence. If I hire you, tell you, yes, I killed the person, but there's little or no evidence, are you obligated to say your client did it? Or is that part of the attorney-client privilege? Sorry for the jumble. Well, that's a good question, and that's a question I get asked a lot. So, if I know the person did it, it doesn't matter as long as I got paid. No, I'm kidding. It matters only if the person testifies. You're not supposed to suborn perjury, right? First of all, let's talk about the burden of proof. Who's the burden of proof on? It's on the government. You have the presumption of innocence, and so the government has the burden to prove your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. You don't have any affirmative duty to say, yeah, I did it. You know, I mean, you don't. And so if a client tells me that they committed a crime, sometimes I know that already. In fact, most of the time I know it already. And I know when clients are lying, generally. But if they tell me that they did something wrong, they committed the crime, that's kind of the best defense. Because it's like, yeah, I shot that person, but you know what? They were shooting at me first. And here's why. That's the best defense at all, because there's no argument as to what happened. It's just, what does it mean legally? But to your point, if you tell me you did it, can I put you on the stand to say that you didn't do it? No. But what I can do is, so I can ask certain questions, and what would you like to tell the jury? And if you lie and say that's up to you. But I can't affirmatively ask you the ultimate question, or you're not supposed to anyway. It doesn't matter to me if somebody's guilty or not. I mean, in fact, most of the clients that we have are guilty. Thank God they are, because imagine if they weren't and they are charging all these innocent people. So that's a very excellent question. All right, one more question. Toasted Snow, 7982. Can you decline to represent if you're tapped as the public defendant? I'd imagine you can't. I don't see any reason why any defense lawyer would want to take on such an unwinnable case. Public defenders cannot just decline a case unless they have a conflict. And so sometimes you see the most evil people, like that Polly Klaas murderer. You remember that guy?
Just don't do me like my dad. I have to pay my dues, so should you.
Hell, Davis.
That guy at sentencing, and he just makes these vile statements, and he just looked like the scum of the earth, grabbed off of somebody's bottom of their shoe. You know, I mean, he was evil. You could just tell, how could anybody represent somebody like that? And I've had plenty of people that have been very difficult to represent over the years, absolutely. But public defenders can't pick and choose their clients, unfortunately. I have a little bit more say so in that. If by your question you mean, can you decline can the judge just tell you to represent somebody? I have never had that happen. I know some people have had that happen. I don't think a judge can really have the authority to tell you have to represent so-and-so just because you're a member of the bar. I don't think that's the case. But it does happen, and you don't really say no because you don't want to piss off the judge. All right, so let's get into Megan Thee Stallion. This is a situation where Aiden sends a message to Megan Thee Stallion's show.
Free Tory, it's always free Tory. Show the bullet wound, bitch. Sorry, Z. Come on, bro. He lied on my man's name. Lied on my man's name. Free Tory. Okay, so what type?
So one of the things I think you got to worry about when you are doing this kind of thing is, his streams are long. So Candace Owens was in the same boat. She's being sued by Macron and his wife for defamation. And I think it's pretty clear she's a woman. I mean, she may be masculine in some senses, but what are you doing? All you're doing is just getting views because you're outrageous. And that's what this whole thing is. And one of the things that you have to worry about when you do that is a reckless disregard for the truth. And, and there's a certain maliciousness in that. So you saw that clip there, and where he's saying, show the bullet wound, bitch. That's really not, that's just him saying, show it, right? But he's not believing that she was even shot.
I think the other side that voluntarily lied under oath deserves to go into jail. You're proceeding to ruin another person's life based off jealousy, anger, hatred.
So now he's saying she lied under oath. Now, it's one thing to just state your opinion. When you're a public figure, you have to take a certain amount of abuse. You just do. There's that New York Times versus Sullivan case, and that basically says there has to be publication, it has to be knowingly false, and there has to be a malicious intent. Clearly, he's got an opinion that she lied. If he knows for a fact she told the truth, and then goes off and says, something different, well, then, it is what it is, right? That's your malicious intent right there. And what is he doing here? He's basically just saying all this stuff just to get views and just to be outrageous. He may really think that. He may really think that, she's ruining somebody's life because she snitched, but according to her, she got fucking shot. You shoot me. If I don't shoot you back, I'm going to fucking tell on you. That's not snitching. That's just good old fashioned comeuppance, those are just desserts. If we're caught together in a crime and then I snitch on you, that's bad form. You don't fucking do that. I don't represent snitches. Megan Thee Stallion is not, let's see, according to, who is this? This is a BET.com. Megan Thee Stallion is not playing around as she has recently served Aiden Ross papers using a mariachi band. Do we have a video of that? Okay, so she served it. I think that's just absolutely fantastic. I think she served him with a mariachi band. That's hilarious. So the streamer shared the details with DJ Academics, sharing how his security wouldn't take the papers from the band. They called a mariachi, like a Mexican band, to perform outside my house to make me want to come outside, so they served me papers, he told Academics. Here's the thing. You can't avoid a subpoena forever or avoid papers. Because if you can't serve somebody because they're dodging you, you can ultimately just serve it by publication. He proceeded to show proof, sending the blogger a picture while on the live stream. My lawyer's like, Aiden, just tell them to contact me, he continued. Me and my lawyer are hopping on a call tomorrow to figure out when I'm going to do the deposition. So, when you start a lawsuit, like when Trump started his lawsuit against the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal, I think it was Wall Street Journal, you open the door, Pandora's box, to discovery. The Wall Street Journal didn't have access to Donald Trump before that. Now they do, baby. Now you open that up, and all of a sudden you have got a situation where you now have to answer discovery, and if your lawyers are just, like that lawsuit against Cardi B. Remember that lawsuit? That didn't last long. And they got zeroed out. And those lawyers put a lot into that, and a lot of their own money. And they got zero. So let's look at a couple more clips from Mr. Ross.
I'll just be upfront, bro. I can only stream maximum of 5 hours for a wild chat. That's all I can say. But I'm trying to get that shit handled ASAP. I can't even speak much about it, but I should be as transparent with you guys as possible. That's why I've been fucking not streaming, bro, because I'm trying to fix this shit. So I actually I put a lot of my assets in other people's names. I don't have really any of my assets in my name.
Brother, you shouldn't admit this.
What do we call that? Well, you can't see it on that one. Let me put it a little brighter. Do you think his lawyer wants him to say that? I mean, I actually don't put anything in my name. Do you think that putting it in somebody else's name to hide the asset is something that is going to prevent acquisition of that asset? It's not.
What?
You shouldn't admit this.
What do you mean?
Like you're admitting that your assets.
What?
You know,
That's not a bad thing. I have trusts and I have. What do you mean?
if you set up a trust for whatever reason, it doesn't shield you from liability. If you have access to it, if you put all your shit in your mother's name just to hide it, they can get it. I mean, it's not untouchable. And then saying it like that is just it's really stupid. So this is a clip of Aiden Ross talking about getting served outside of his house.
They couldn't serve me outside my house. My security wasn't taking it. Listen to what the lawyers did. They call a mariachi to my house. They call the mariachi to my house.
Slow down. The Rock Nation lawyers.
Yes.
They called what?
A mariachi, like a Mexican band, to perform outside my house.
You're lying.
I swear to God, I have a picture. Look.
That is so creative. I mean, it's not abusive. It's kind of cute, really.
I'm gonna show it to you. I'm gonna show the tattoo. Look, I swear to God, all my life.
Mariachi band to your house
to make me want to come outside so they could serve me the paper. Let me show you this picture. No. I swear to God, look, I'm showing it to you. Show it to your chat. I'm gonna show it to my stream too.
What the fuck?
Hold on, I gotta scroll up. I swear my life. Look, Ack.
No fucking way.
Look. I swear to God. I have no reason to lie, bro. That's my driveway, and that's a mariachi band. So so my security is like, yo, at this point, bro, fuck. I'm like, yo, my lawyer's like, Aiden, just tell them to contact me. So me and my lawyer hopping on the call tomorrow to figure out when I'm gonna do the deposition, what you did, and I'm gonna ask if I can stream it.
Yo, they're not.
You ain't gonna be able to stream it.
Yo, they're not giving up. By the way, so I could tell they're salty, and I'm gonna take blame. That was going like, yo, Ack, you owned them so much. They hit me again.
No way.
Oh yes, they said, so
is Kick down?
Sat through 7 hours of questioning from Rock Nation. Flawlessly just dismantled them. And they said there was one question. They said one question you didn't answer to our satisfaction. And they said, we're approaching the federal court in New Jersey to try to force you to answer the question.
So here's what happens when you get into civil discovery. I fucking hate civil discovery. It is so arduous. Hard to get to a jury, honestly. So they start out with requests for admissions, requests for documents and tangible things. And then they go to requests for interrogatories, and that's a series of questions, written questions. So you have to write all this shit out. And then once you get done with that, maybe you get the second or third set of interrogatories, and then you get you're deposed. So then you sit for that. So I mean, the civil process is, and if you don't answer the questions, that you can go to a judge and say, "Hey, judge, they're not answering questions. Now we want attorney's fees because they made us file this motion, and go outside the normal process. Now we're compelling them." To answer. That's what he's talking about.
So I don't know if I have to do another.
What the fuck?
Bro, they won't give up. So they said to me, they're like, hey, we want to connect with their lawyer, or if you're just down to just tell us some stuff. And I'm like, yo, these people, they will never stop.
That's crazy.
If they bring a mariachi band to your house, you probably.
I know what you mean. Like they know what they're doing they're like baiting me in a way, and they know exactly. They would have never called. They would have probably called some other people, but they knew mariachi and me made sense.
So here's the thing: when you have somebody like Aiden Ross, who's very well known, and you have Megan Thee Stallion, and he's saying that she's a liar. Basically, he's saying she committed perjury on the stand. I don't think she should take that sitting down. He doesn't know the fucking facts. I mean, he really doesn't know the facts. He wasn't there. He probably hasn't read the trial transcript, or maybe he has, I don't know. But why be so reckless and why be so mean? I mean, she clearly was injured. It was proven in court. Tory Lanez was convicted. You know, I mean, so he had his day in court. She testified. The judge didn't find that she was not credible. The jury didn't find that she wasn't credible. You know, they believed what she had to say, and they convicted him of shooting her, and she had an injury. And maybe it wasn't an injury from an actual bullet. Maybe it was an injury from a ricochet, like some shrapnel or concrete or whatever the fuck it was. But clearly they believed, you know, that something happened, that Tory Lanez was responsible. So I think it's starting these beefs with different celebrities. I mean, obviously I'm on the very low end of things, so who gives a fuck what I say, right? But does it create some buzz? Sure, it creates some buzz for your channel or whatever. But couldn't you talk about something else? I mean, I'm sure you could. You got plenty of followers. You know, it's why bring that on yourself? Why start a beef with somebody like Megan Thee Stallion? The way I see it, and this social media BS and you know, our streaming and whether it's on Twitter or X and Instagram or YouTube or whatever. People say what they need to say to try to get views, right? Oh, you know, the more outrageous, the better. Oh, the word fuck, you know, or just, just being outrageous. I swear too much, and that's just a personal habit of mine. I do it in my personal life too, and people tell me, you know, he's up on it, and I'm working on it. Okay, I'm working on it, but I don't swear on here to get views or to be more outrageous. This is just who I really am. And I'm not going to sit there and go after somebody unless I really, you know, like the Tate brothers. Oh my God, those guys are fun to go after just because they are so outrageous. And they're a prime example of just saying the most outrageous things just to get attention. And that's really what this kind of is. Oh, I'll start this beef with Megan Thee Stallion, you know, to get some attention. Well, why do that? You know, I mean, how do you really benefit? And, you know, is she going to get $50 million? Probably not, you know. Although maybe she will, you know, in the second thought, you know, calling her a liar is really part of a smear campaign that has no basis. He's got no basis to say that she's a liar. I have to confess, I haven't watched all of his streaming, you know, I mean, because who could sit there for 5-7 hours? You know, I mean, fuck, I can't. No, nor would I want to. I got other things to do, you know. But that being said, we'll follow this lawsuit where Megan Thee Stallion is suing Aiden Ross for 50 million buckaroonies. Now he's got to hire a lawyer, and that's not going to be cheap. And he's exposed himself to a lawsuit. They probably sent him a cease and desist letter. I bet you any money they did that. You know, because then now you're on notice that she's saying it's not true. What you're saying about me is not true, and we'd like you to stop, and it's causing damage. So what happens when that happens? Well, now you're kind of on notice. And when you're on notice, you have a duty to mitigate your own damages. And if you don't, you know, maybe you get punitive damages, maybe you don't. It's going to go to the next level. And this is the kind of thing that probably will get tried. So we'll see you next time here in Criminal Lawyer Reacts. Make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter or X, and sign up for Patreon. Go to CLR Bruce Rivers for your merch needs. See, we got mugs. And if you've ordered something, send me an email because we had a little glitch in some of our orders, you know, and Nick has been a little bit sick. He's not homeless anymore. He's got the nicest cardboard box you'd ever seen. He's working hard, so he'll get your stuff out. But send me a little something to let me know. See you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts. All right. you've heard what I said about CyberGhost VPN. Don't forget to click on the description to the link below and get a special discount only available here. CyberGhost VPN is granting our channel users this special discount. The application will protect your data while you browse and give you full access to all blocked content on the internet for only $2 a month. Cheap. For a total risk-free experience. So check it out and the link in the description below.